I thank Robin Stewart, and I want to express my appreciation for bringing authenticity to the service today. In our congregation in Unitarian Universalism, there are many, many folks who identify as Jewish and who were raised in the Jewish tradition. And I can tell that when she's speaking Yiddish, and I can tell you, some of you know exactly what she's saying, or I'm sorry, Hebrew, and she knows, you all know exactly what she's saying. So today, as I did last year, I bring you the story of Judah Maccabee, Judah the Hammer, and the origins of the celebration of Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. The Israelites in their promised land were continually defending themselves and their identity against the occupying forces of conquering empires. In some ways, this continues today. For about 300 years before the time of Jesus, the Seleucids had control of Judea, but a small band of Jewish fighters led by Judah Maccabee, or Judah the Hammer, fought guerrilla-like battles with the Seleucid army. And when their leader Antiochus died in Persia, the Seleucids decided to retreat to Syria. So in 165 BCE, before the Common Era, Judah Maccabee rode into Jerusalem triumphant. This is where the story of Hanukkah and the miracle of light begins. So as I did last year, I want for us to take a moment and try and understand the experience that Judah and his people must have had in going to the temple. I want you to imagine that you walk into this sanctuary and it has been vandalized. The chalice stand is toppled and in pieces on the steps. The pulpit is overturned and ugly words and sentiments have been spray painted on the walls, windows, and piano. Numerous chairs are broken and all are overturned. The hymnals are strewn all over the place, spines broken, pages torn out. In Osias Hall, the 7 principals' banners has been yanked down, and more vandalism is apparent. The most meaningful objects and words and the house of your religious home has been savagely attacked. Think for a moment about how that would make you feel. Brokenhearted, angry, vengeful, hurt, maybe thankful that it wasn't worse. So when the Maccabees experienced what they experienced when they entered the temple in Jerusalem, it was really at the time their only place of worship. It was a sacred place for Jewish people and one that had been rebuilt before when it was destroyed by the Babylonians 300 years before. The temple contained the Holy of the Holies, the place where the God of Israel could alight and smell the pleasing smell of burnt offerings. And this inner sanctum had been defiled by the presence of Antiochus, the cruel Seleucid ruler. And one of his vengeful tactics was having pigs slaughtered at the temple altar. The Seleucids were Hellenistic, so there were statues of Greek gods that stood on the Israelites' sacred ground. The temple had been defiled in the worst ways by the enemy, and the Maccabees were desperate to cleanse and purify it, to consecrate it, to purify the temple the Jewish priests needed untouched, undefiled oil to light the lamps that were prescribed in the Torah. The story goes that only one sealed container of oil was found, but that it would only be enough for one day, to keep all the lamps lit for one day. But it would take 8 days to press and prepare new sacred oil. But according to legend, the 1 day's supply lasted until a new supply was made available. It was the miracle for which the Maccabees and many Jewish people then and now believe was bestowed by the God of Israel. The next year, after the temple was restored, Judah Maccabee arranged for an 8-day feast to commemorate 25 Kislev. Where'd you go? Kislev, the day the temple was cleansed and rededicated, and eventually Hanukkah, the commemoration and the ritual lighting of the 8 candles over 8 days. By the way, this evening will be the 4th day of Hanukkah, and normally these would be lit in the evening. But we wanted to present to you what this experience is and what it looks like. So that first Hanukkah was a day of praise and celebration, and the menorah candles were to be displayed, to this day, are to be displayed in the home for all to see, inside and out, as a reminder of the freedom won by the mighty Maccabees with God's help for Jewish people everywhere. To help us understand and honor this celebration of freedom, I present to you a story by Rabbi Mark Gelman of the first Hanukkah. He imagines the first Hanukkah. Last year, Ellen Cormier shared this with me, and I'm glad to share it with you again this year. Hannah's Light by Mark Gelman. There was a problem with lighting the first Hanukkah menorah. The problem was that everyone wanted to light it, and there were only 8 lights. The Maccabee soldiers said, "We won the war for freedom. Soldiers are the most important." So the Maccabee soldiers lit the first light of the first Hanukkah. Then other priests from the tribe of Levi said, "We are the ones who take care of the menorah. Priests are the most important." So the priests lit the second light of the first Hanukkah. Then oil makers said, "We make the oil for the lights. Without us, you would have nothing to light up. We are the most important." So the oil makers lit the third light of the first Hanukkah. Then the farmers said, "After we light the menorah, we will go home and eat latkes. We grow the potatoes for the latkes. Farmers are the most important." So the farmers lit the fourth light of the first Hanukkah. Then the beekeepers said, "Food comes from plants, and plants come from flowers, and bees make food for the flowers." So the beekeepers are the most important. They lit the fifth light of the first Hanukkah. Then the teachers said, "Nobody will know what the menorah means, what Hanukkah means, if we do not teach them. Teachers are the most important." So teachers lit the sixth light of the first Hanukkah. Then the tailors said, "We can't have a naked Hanukkah. We make clothes and underpants for everybody. Tailors are the most important." So the tailors lit the seventh light of the first Hanukkah. Then the shepherds said, "Where do you think the tailors get the thread to make the cloth, to make the clothes and underpants? They get it from wool, and wool comes from sheep, and we take care of the sheep and gather their wool. Shepherds are the most important." So the shepherds lit the eighth light of the first Hanukkah. The 8 lights of the first menorah were beautiful, but the people were not happy because they were all arguing about who was the most important. That is when Hannah, who was the daughter of Matthias, who was the father of the Maccabees, of Judah Maccabee, shouted, "Hey, everybody stop yelling. All you can see is your own light on your own branch of the menorah." And that, Hannah said, is just wrong. We need soldiers to keep us safe, and priests to help us pray, and teachers to teach us the meaning of Hanukkah. We need the oil makers and farmers and beekeepers to get us food, and we need the shepherds and tailors to make us clothes and underpants. Every one of you, Hannah said, is the most important. Let us all look at the menorah in a different way. And this is what Hannah did. What the people saw then were not 8 separate branches with 8 separate lights, but one single brighter light. The people were happy, and they cheered for Hannah. And that is why there is a 9th light on the Hanukkah menorah. That light, that 9th candle, is used to light all the other 8 lights. It is supposed to remind us that every light is important, every person has a light within, and every person is important. And if we turn the menorah to the side, we will see that we are better and brighter together. The 9th light is called the Shamas, which means that it is the helping light. The first idea of the people was to call the 9th light Hannah's light, but Hannah did not want to have her name on a light. She didn't think she was important. Hannah just wanted to make all other lights glow. I cannot know what it is to be Jewish and to have a Jewish identity. But I do know that in the face of the difficulties in the world today, and what happened in Israel on October the 7th, cannot be easy to bear. But I do want to leave you with a message to all of us, that Hanukkah and Hannah's light is an example for us. And I would encourage everyone to be Hannah. Help others find their light. There is nothing more important to us as humans than to know that we belong, to know we are connected to each other. And as Albert Schweitzer reminds us with his words, at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Be the person who rekindles another's light. Be the person who persists in the light of hope. Don't let the light go out, because the light is love. The light is courage. The light dispels fear. Let your own light shine fiercely within. Resist the forces of human constructs of evil. There are so many more good people in the world than there are bad. But often it just takes a few terrible acts. It only takes a few frowns. It only takes a few experiences of prejudice and hatred and anti-Semitism to dim one's light. But don't let your light go out. And if you see somebody whose light needs rekindling, please use your own to help them rekindle their light. Go out from this place today and be a Hana for Hanukkah.